How proud are you of this bunch staying afloat once Paolo went out? Now you see Franz go out, but they haven't skipped a beat when it comes to playing hard and winning ball games.
Yeah, that's the most impressive thing, I think. We were all it was kind of tough around here for a couple of days when we got the news with Paolo. The team was rolling. They were 3-1, lost a heartbreaker in Chicago in fifth game of the season, and then we found out after the game that Paolo said, we're going to go take a look at a little something on his side. It's kind of tugging at him. And then to find out it was a torn oblique and he's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks at least to then be reevaluated, that was a gut punch because he was playing so well. He was MVP caliber play. I know it was only 5 games, but he was putting up massive numbers. So you're thinking, okay, well, this is going to be the year that they grab a top 4 spot in the Eastern Conference. And then to find Franz last week was going to go through the same thing, you thought, oh, my goodness, if this team, with Paolo, you thought if you could just keep it around 500, that would be doing something. Well, you were. You were 9 games over 500.
Right.
Absolutely incredible because Franz was playing like an all-star. And then Franz goes down, and you're thinking, okay, well, eventually the luck has got to run out. Eventually they're going to rattle off a long losing streak, and the rest of the East is going to catch up to them. But then they go out and beat Phoenix the very next night. And then you nearly beat Milwaukee on their home floor. It took one of the most clutch players of all time to make some big clutch shots down the stretch. So I think you're very proud. All of us here in Central Florida, everyone, right? All Magic fans are proud of the fact that they've held the fort down. We talked to Jalen Suggs on Pod Squad yesterday, and I think, as the 5th overall pick, you're always wondering in the back of your mind, if you get an opportunity, you never want anyone to be hurt, but if you found yourself in a position where you have to step up and be the number 1 guy, could you do it? Could you make it happen? And I think we have our answer. Jalen Suggs has been fantastic. He leads the NBA in fourth quarter scoring the last 5 games. So he's been terrific. And, everybody is doing what they have to do to keep this thing afloat. It's pretty impressive.
Well, speak to me just a little bit more on Jalen Suggs. I remember having Philip Rossman-Reich on the program when Paolo went down, and I asked him, did Franz understand that he had to pick up the offensive scoring load as well as the playmaking responsibility? And he said, absolutely, he understands that. And we saw what Franz was able to do during that stretch where Paolo was out. Now he's out. You had the conversation with Jalen Suggs, but does he understand that now the number 1 option, the scoring option, the playmaking responsibility now falls on his shoulders? And do you believe that he's carrying that weight well?
Oh, he does well. He's done it very well. He's at 28 combined fourth quarter points the last 2 games. One, you got you everything you needed to beat the Phoenix Suns at home, keep that undefeated record going at home, and then again a monster performance in Milwaukee that nearly won you that basketball game. You had a lead with 1 minute left.
Yeah, you did.
You had a lead on their home floor with 1 minute left. So he understands, and that was part of the conversation yesterday. Was just the fact that he's got the ball in his hands. At any competitor at this level, there's 450 NBA players, and every single one of them relishes an opportunity and dreams of an opportunity where the basketball will be in your hands at the end of a game. And now he's got that. So he does what he has to do the entire game, but he knows come the fourth quarter, he's got to make things happen. And he's done that. He's done that and put this team in position to win one and nearly steal another one. So, yeah, he's well aware. But within that, it's not doing too much and not forcing it and, not going out of control. Can't have a costly turnover in the fourth quarter. And he still brings that elite defense on that end. So he wants to be all defensive first team. And I think eventually, if he was being honest with you, he wants to be considered an all-star potentially, next year or whatever it may be. But I think he feels he's got that in him. And, the Magic need a third guy. They need that third option. And last year it became apparent he was that guy. And then this year it's showing that he could be a number 2 behind Franz when Paolo was out and now a number 1 when you need him. So, and the biggest thing that's going to help too, RJ, end of a game, Paolo's in foul trouble or maybe hurt or has to miss a game or doesn't have it one night. They double-team Franz, and now they're going to live with Jalen Suggs beating you at the end of a game, and now he can do that. And I think that's the biggest thing that's going to come out of this. All this experience that all these guys are getting, end-of-game situations is only going to help long-term.
Continuing our conversation with Dante Marchitelli, the Orlando Magic host, as well as sideline reporter, as well as the host of Magic Insiders in Orlando on 96.9 The Game. There's so many players in which we could highlight. We'd be here for hours on end just talking about the roster. But there's one guy that I want to highlight that when he first got signed during the offseason, I said, I don't know where the minutes are going to come from because you have Mo Wagner there and you also have Wendell Carter Jr. But Dante, my goodness, Goga Batadze, what a player he's been for the Orlando Magic and is having a career year. And through the 7-game stretch, he's been absolutely phenomenal for the Orlando Magic. What have you seen and liked out of the Orlando Magic big men?
Well, I think what's been most impressive with him is, when Indiana drafted him, they envisioned him as a stretch five, a guy that could come in and knock down shots from beyond the arc and open things up for their guards and in their wings to drive to the basket. But it became apparent, after a couple years into the league that wasn't a strength of his. So imagine on offense having Goga away from the basket and drift into the corners and out on the wings of the three-point line to have him be a stretch five. That's where he was predominantly, and it was hard for him to get minutes out there as the shot continued to struggle. There was no role for him, and then Miles Turner was already there, and he was the rim protector that they wanted, and now they're kicking themselves because imagine having those two together out there protecting the rim. But they basically simplified things for him, and they said, we need you to block shots, contest everything at the rim, and rebound, offensive, defensive rebounds. I mean, he was like against Phoenix, he had 9 offensive rebounds in that game. In Phoenix, the entire team had 9 offensive rebounds. That's what he's done. He gives you extra opportunities at the rim, which are so critical for a team that's, quite frankly, and we know this, RJ, we struggle. We struggle mightily on the offensive end, and they're the lowest three-point percentage in the NBA. So you got to find other ways to score. Right. And a guy like Goga, getting you second chance opportunities is huge, getting you putbacks, and then limiting the opposing team's opportunities at the rim. And now the opportunity to play him and Wendell together has been huge. So now you're even bigger there with that front line, and you're even more physical. So he's been a revelation. He loves it here, and I think the biggest thing for him was, this organization, he said all summer, gave me my joy back, gave me my love for the game of basketball back. And he didn't know. He gets waived by Indiana. He doesn't know what his future holds. Right. Am I going to go back overseas? Am I going to be able to play anywhere? And then the Magic take a chance on him. He fell in love with the group that he's playing with. I mean, watching him and Cole Anthony and him and Jalen Suggs interact is hilarious. I mean, they ride each other the entire game before in the locker room and during the game. And Goga's fiery. You see him out there. He's talking to himself. He's talking to the officials. He plays with a fire and a passion, and he's become a fan favorite. So it's a welcome addition. And you're right. You didn't think the minutes were going to be there for a guy like that, but thank goodness you bring him back because he's getting an opportunity to play, and he's been huge.
Absolutely, and a guy that is responsible for creating that culture has to be that of Coach Jamal Mosley, and I've never forgot when you said it last season. Coach Jamal Mosley is a guy that players do not want to let down. They really absolutely adore this head coach, and just talk to me about the growth you've seen from Coach stemming from his first season up until now, because in my opinion, he should be favored for Coach of the Year.
I'm with you. And let me ask you this. If you take Giannis and Lillard off the Bucks, when we play that game, do the Magic not win in a landslide?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And now you take, right? So you take away Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, and most teams would struggle. And it would be very difficult for them to have any semblance of an offense or to even look somewhat organized. But he does that. To me, he is the runaway favorite for Coach of the Year. And I know they're going to look at Kenny Atkinson, and they should. There are some very deserving candidates out there. But those guys have had their full complement of players.
Right.
That's the thing. And the Magic have been without, as we know, as we've stated, without their main guys. But still, there's a way that they play. And they're always going to fight defensively no matter who they've got. Caleb Houston was the first one off the bench the other night, and he had gone 3 games without playing, and he's playing down. He played in Osceola yesterday. Right. So this is a guy that no matter who you have, he will plug in there, and there is an expectation that this is what we need from you that game. It's unbelievable. It's almost like the Patriots with the Patriot way. It's become the Magic way around here, and if you don't defend, you're not going to get on the floor. And then offensively, we just need you to be as unselfish as possible. If you have it, great, let it fly. If you don't, quick decisions. Move it on to the next guy and then rotate, move, get to an open spot. And I think all of this that he's done, he's as big a reason as anyone that they're sitting here with 17 wins and one of the best records in the NBA and one of in the top 3 team in the East because of his principles, because of how much he believes in all these guys, and because of the confidence that he has in every single player on this roster. He goes and visits these guys, RJ, all throughout the summer.
Wow.
So he'll go to he'll go to the country of Georgia,
Yeah.
and he'll go to the state of Georgia and visit Caldwell Pope, and he'll go to all these places, and he's got such a great relationship with everybody that's why. You're right, and what we talk about all the time is they won't let him fail. They want him to succeed, and he was the runner-up for Coach of the Year last year, and I think once you get Franz and Paolo back, I think we'll have one of the best records in the Eastern Conference, and I think he is the Coach of the Year.
Continuing our conversation with Dante Marchitelli, make sure to follow him on Twitter at Dante Magic, the Orlando Magic host, as well as the sideline reporter. Another thing that I have thought is huge for this Orlando Magic team is you're seeing Paolo Banchero, although injured, he's been on the bench and he's been vocal. And you heard Coach say it in a press conference that he feels that he has another coach on the bench with him, with Paolo Banchero being out, with the way that he is animated and the way that he is injecting his energy into the team, although he's not able to be on the floor with them. And I really feel like that speaks to his leadership and the growth that he's having in that area. What does it say to you about Paolo Banchero and his growth in being a leader for this young squad while being on the bench and being absent, not being able to be out there with his team?
Yeah, well, I think that's incredible. That's a great point. And this is a guy that, could have easily been in the tank, could have easily been frustrated, could have been disappointed, could have, all those things because he was playing so well and expected to be the guy, wanted to be an all-star for a second time. And that's who he is. That is, he cares about the team, he cares about this city, he cares about this organization, this fan base, and he wants to deliver, and he wants the team to be successful. And they have been, and he's been a huge part of that, probably the biggest part of that,
right.
if we're being honest, when he's out there on the floor. So, okay, what are some other ways that I can help? Well, all game, he's talking to guys. He's talking to Franz. He's talking to KCP. He's talking to Jalen, and he's got a way to talk to each guy to keep them engaged, to keep them interested, to show them what it takes. What are some of the things that he thinks about throughout the course of the game? Well, what are some of the moves that he would make or the decisions that he would make while he's out there on the floor? And it adds incredible insight, and it's given these guys, a lot of ammunition when they're out there on the floor. So I give him a lot of credit. And listen, I got to think, we always hear this, that it's frustrating because we want the guys to play.
Right.
But when you sit out, there are things you learn about your teammates.
Yes.
And there's ways you see the game, and there's ways that you read it, that now when he comes back, okay, this is something I can do with Jalen. This is something I can do with Goga. This is what I can do with Jonathan Isaac.
Right.
And I can help me be more successful. So I think all of that long-term is going to be huge. It hurts right now. It hurts him the most because he just wants to be out there.
Right.
But long-term, they're going to be better off for it.
Absolutely. Wanted to ask you about this because you did touch on the three-point shooting and it having to be better. Do you think Jeff Weltman, Anthony Parker, and company look out there in the NBA and see maybe if they can get a three-point shooting talent on the squad, or do they kind of stick with the guys in which they have? I know that KCP hasn't been amazing from downtown, but it's still early in the season. He can turn that around, right, as well as Gary Harris. Jet Howard, I really feel can be a sharpshooter for this Orlando Magic bunch. But do you believe that, the front office may look for a sharpshooter before the deadline?
Well, I know they're looking. I know they always do their due diligence. And let me say this, they'll always do their due diligence. They'll either look, they'll field calls. They're always going to do everything they can to try to make the team better. And if an opportunity presents itself, they'll certainly pull the trigger and make the move. I think you have to look at this and say, okay, well, KCP, we got to give him a little more time. Right. He's been 40% three-point shooter the last 5 years, so that'll come up. For a guy who his wife was expecting their fifth child, they have to move across country, they have to find a place. Their house wasn't ready, so they're renting, and then he's traveling, and you got 4 kids going to different schools. Right. So there was a lot on his plate, and I think now that his son was born, you've seen a lot of that pressure come off his shoulders. So I think you're going to start seeing the KCP of old. But still, through all of that, the guy continued to defend at a high level.
Yes.
Gary's been, it's been tough for him because he's battled injuries a lot here the last couple of years. And so does that mean more minutes for Jet Howard? It depends on what they view at that position. Can Jet be the fix? Can Jet be the guy that can come in and be that three-point shooter that you're talking about? He's been defending much better, and he's been earning more minutes, so they think that could certainly be an option. And then guys flat out have to shoot better. I mean, RJ, nobody in the NBA gets more wide open. They have a statistic that they chart, and it's wide open threes. So a defender with 6 feet or further away, and the Orlando Magic get the most wide open three-point shots per game.
Wow.
And they're shooting about 28th or 29th in percentage. I mean, you can't ask for more than working the offense, getting a wide open look, and you're just not making them. So I think they'll give that some time, before the trade deadline. Can that turn around? Can we just hit some of these open shots? And if not, I think you have to. If you're going to be serious about making a run in today's NBA, you have to add shooting.
Right. Finishing up our conversation with Dante Marchitelli of the Orlando Magic, where he is the host and sideline reporter for the Orlando Magic. He's also the host of Magic Insiders in Orlando on 96.9 The Game. Okay, before I let you go, it is the Christmas season. The Orlando Magic have had plenty of Christmas games during their time in the NBA, but when I think of the Orlando Magic and I think of a Christmas Day game, I look no further than the battle between Tracy McGrady and LeBron James. And I think you were in Orlando at that time when the two went head-to-head against each other. Just what do you remember about that day, seeing T-Mac go up against LeBron James?
Well, I remember the excitement of working Christmas Day. I mean, that was the first time I had worked a Christmas Day game. And I remember thinking, man, this is incredible. You get up, you do your presents, and then you get to the arena. I think it was even a 1 o'clock game. So I think we were first or second on the NBA slate that day. So you're kicking off the whole thing, and you got two of the best in the game. You fans that are listening may or may not remember the question back then, that time of year, was, is it better to build a team around Kobe Bryant or Tracy McGrady?
Right.
Think about that.
Right.
Think about that. That was your decision. They have these conversations now, and who would you start a team with, LeBron or Michael or whatever, all the time. But that was the question back then.
Yes, it
who
was.
do you start a team with, Kobe or Tracy? And then when LeBron came in, it was LeBron or Tracy.
Right.
Then it became LeBron or Kobe. But having LeBron James in the building and all the fanfare that came with him and all the excitement, there was never a rookie that had as much hype as LeBron James. And then having him in the building on Christmas Day, and that brought the best out of Tracy. Tracy loved those national TV games, and especially those matchups against some of the other elite players in the NBA, and he brought it. He's got some great backstories on what all went into that game, and knowing he had a national audience, and there was no way in heck on Christmas Day that LeBron James, this young buck, was going to come in here and win that game in Orlando. So that's one of my favorite memories. He put on a show, one of Tracy McGrady's several shows that he put on in his 4 years here in City Beautiful, but that is certainly right up there at the top. And getting to work that and the excitement and electricity in the building as he continued to get basket after basket was just incredible. That's certainly something I'll never forget.
Another beautiful game by Tracy McGrady on Christmas would be that of Christmas of 2000 when the Orlando Magic were in Indiana that year, and he put on a 40-point performance against the Orlando Magic. I love going in the time machine with our guest, Dante Marchitelli of the Orlando Magic, where he is the host and sideline reporter, as well as host of Magic Insiders in Orlando on 96.9 The Game. Dante, thank you so much for coming on the program, as always, and, of course, we're going to do this again down the road.
My pleasure, RJ. Anytime. Keep up the great work, and we'll see you soon here in Orlando, okay, my friend? Take care, guys.
Absolutely.